Hi friends, and welcome to Book a Day for Little Learners. Friends, today is Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day. February 2nd is the day of Groundhog's Day. And Groundhog's Day, if the groundhog comes out, he's also called a woodchuck. If he comes out and it's sunny out and he sees his shadow, that means there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter. This book is by Stephen Kroll and it's illustrated by Jenny Bassett. Friends, I hope you enjoyed the reading of this story. If you would hit the thumbs up like button, I would appreciate it. And I would love for you to subscribe to our channel. We present a new book every single day for you to enjoy. Let's read It's Groundhog Day. Summer was over. Godfrey Groundhog was getting ready for his long winter's nap. Do you see his burrow back there? He gathered lots of tasty green grass and hid it in his burrow. He mixed some straw with mud to make a mound to stop up his doorway. When he was ready and the air was getting chilly, Godfrey invited his friends over. So he was preparing, wasn't he? He gathered the things he needed and then he made a mixture. And when he goes into his burrow, he's going to put that where kind of his door would go so that other animals don't come in during the cold winter months. Friends, he said, I've got a hunch. When I come out of my burrow on Groundhog Day, I don't think I'll see my shadow. Hooray, shouted Sherwood Squirrel. That means we'll have an early spring, said Penelope Porcupine. 6 weeks less of winter, said Reginald Rabbit. They're having a nice picnic, aren't they? Crouching behind a tree, Roland Raccoon was not so happy. He said to himself, an early spring means the snow will melt. I'll have to close my ski lodge. I'll lose lots of money. Godfrey Groundhog waved goodbye to his friends. He stepped into his burrow and pulled the mound of mud mixed with straw into his doorway, and then he got ready for bed. See, he's in there and he's pulling that forward, and then it will stay there and protect him while he's taking his long winter's nap. He brushed his teeth and put on his pajamas. He set his calendar alarm clock for 7:30 a.m. on February 2nd, Groundhog Day. Then he jumped out under the covers and smiled as he went to sleep. Up above, everyone but Roland Raccoon was talking about spring. If it's warm in February, we can go to the beach, said Reginald Rabbit. Let's go buy some beach stuff, said Penelope Porcupine. Good idea, said Sherwood Squirrel. While the 3 friends raced into town, Roland Raccoon went home to sulk in his hollow tree. He said again, I hate spring. He's kind of grumpy, isn't he? Winter came, snow fell. Godfrey Groundhog slept on and on. Sherwood Squirrel, Reginald Rabbit, and Penelope Porcupine went skiing at Roland Raccoon's lodge. So these are animals that stay awake all winter. They do not hibernate. Whee, this is fun, shouted Penelope Porcupine. Not as much fun as the beach, said Reginald Rabbit. Skiing's better than the beach, said Roland Raccoon. Not when it's warm outside, said Sherwood Squirrel. Roland Raccoon frowned. He had to do something. He couldn't afford to have an early spring and warm weather. Friends, remember why he couldn't afford that? His ski lodge would close because there wouldn't be snow on the ground. Nobody would come skiing if there wasn't snow. Christmas came and the friends had a party at Reginald Rabbit's. They gave each other presents and ate lots of good food. And then everyone went to Godfrey Groundhog's burrow. They sang a carol and left his presents in the snow. Look how lovely that is, friends. The friends are having a good time together, aren't they? At New Year's, the friends blew noisemakers and wore funny hats. Happy New Year, said Penelope Porcupine. Here comes spring, said Sherwood Squirrel. Up in a tree, Roland Raccoon muttered, "Oh, not if I can help it." And then, before you could blink, it was February 2nd. Friends, let's make a prediction. A prediction is when you make a good guess as to what will happen next. What do you think will happen when Godfrey wakes up? You have choices, but the two main choices would be he will see his shadow or he will not see his shadow. Which do you think it will be? Okay, hold that thought, and then we're going to see what the author writes in the book for us. Promptly at 7:30, Godfrey's alarm rang. He reached over and shut it off. He sat up in bed and stretched. "It's Groundhog Day," he said. "Time to get ready." Look at, he's waking up from his long winter's nap. Then he opened his eyes. He was staring at a face in a mask. Would that scare you, friends? "Help! A burglar!" Godfrey shouted. He dove back under the covers and then he peered out again. "Oh, it's you, Roland," he said. "What are you doing here?" Roland pushed Godfrey Groundhog into a burlap bag and tied it with a string. And then he pushed the bag out of the burrow and slung it over his shoulder. Friends, the groundhog is in this bag. And Roland the raccoon is taking him away. What's going to happen? Well, you're right. If he doesn't come out of his burrow, he can't tell if there's a shadow or not. Godfrey Groundhog kicked and screamed. "Roland," he shouted, "what are you doing? Let me out. I have to look for my shadow." "That's exactly what I don't want you to do," said Roland Raccoon. Roland started home. Friends, do you think this is a good idea? I think that Roland is making a poor choice. He could make a better choice. Godfrey wasn't heavy, but with all his kicking and screaming, he was difficult to carry. Before very long, Roland got tired. He sat down under a tree to rest. Do you think Godfrey will manage to get out of the bag? Do you think maybe his friends will come and help him? When he realized he was on the ground, Godfrey got right to work. He gnawed a hole in the side of the burlap bag and scrambled out. Friends, he gnawed a hole in the side of the burlap bag means he used his teeth and he chewed his way out. But Roland saw him escape and ran after him. He tackled him and knocked him down. Ooh, Roland is not being very nice to Godfrey. He's treating him very poorly. He dragged Godfrey Groundhog the rest of the way to his hollow tree. He tied him to a chair and then he went to fix himself breakfast. Oh, poor Godfrey. As soon as Roland disappeared into the kitchen, Godfrey began gnawing at the ropes. He bit through one and then another. He wriggled out of the rest and started burrowing through the floor. Godfrey's trying, isn't he, friends? When Roland came back, Godfrey was already burrowing into the ground. Roland started burrowing after him. "I'll get you, Godfrey Groundhog," he shouted. On and on Godfrey went, faster and faster. Oh, look how fast he's burrowing. And so when he burrows, he digs out the dirt in front of him and pushes it behind him. Oh no, Roland's coming after him. After so much breakfast, Roland could barely squeeze through the burrow. Every time he tried to go fast, he got stuck. Godfrey kept getting farther and farther ahead. Friends, I'm happy about that. Are you happy about that? He raced toward home. When he arrived, he popped up next to his burrow. His three friends were waiting. "Where have you been?" asked Sherwood Squirrel. "Are you okay?" asked Reginald Rabbit. "We've been looking for you everywhere," said Penelope Porcupine. His friends were waiting for him. "I was kidnapped by Roland Raccoon," said Godfrey. He looked around. It was very cloudy. "Just as I thought, I can't see my shadow." Is that what you guessed earlier, friends? Did you guess that he wouldn't be able to see his shadow? That's what Godfrey predicted at the beginning of the story. Everyone got so excited they forgot about the kidnapping. Hooray, they shouted and danced around in a circle. A moment later, Roland Raccoon struggled out of Godfrey's burrow. Reginald Rabbit saw him first. Get him! Get the kidnapper, he shouted. Roland dove back into the burrow, but Reginald Rabbit and Penelope Porcupine caught him by the tail. All four friends dragged him out and sat on him. Ooh, I don't think that's very nice either. Roland Raccoon burst into tears. I'm sorry, he said. I just didn't want an early spring. He explained about the snow and his ski lodge business. You can build a hot dog stand at the beach, said Sherwood Squirrel. Is that a good idea, do you think, friends? He can have something else to do besides his ski lodge. But only after you've been punished, said Godfrey Groundhog. You have to let us all ski free for the rest of the winter. I'll do anything, said Roland Raccoon. And for the last weeks of winter, the friends had a great time speeding down the slopes. Friends, have you ever been skiing? Maybe snowboarding? I have never been skiing. It looks like it would be a lot of fun. And they for sure look like they're having a lot of fun, don't they, friends? And then they all went to the beach. And look, friends, Roland Raccoon made a hot dog stand so he can still make money even when it's not winter and snowing. Friends, this was a story about a groundhog who at the beginning of the story was preparing to go down for his long winter's nap. And he had a picnic with his friends, and he talked about what he predicted was going to happen. And then as he was getting up on February 2nd, his friend Roland Raccoon came and tried to take him away because he didn't want Godfrey to predict that winter was over soon. And so in the end, they all worked together to come up with a solution. And they suggested that in addition to the raccoon's ski business, that he also have something to do in warm weather months. So in the end, everybody was happy with the ending. Friends, I hope you liked our It's Groundhog Day, and I hope that you find out today what Puxatawny Phil does. He's the groundhog that most of the United States looks at to see if he sees his shadow or doesn't see his shadow. Friends, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to our channel, Book a Day for Little Learners, and I will see you tomorrow for a story about Valentine's Day. See you then.